And we are on. What is up, guys? This is the Average Johnny coming back to you with yet another average video. And today I'm going to be doing something for all of you guys because I'm finally going to be doing my first ever PC tutorial. And what I'm going to show today for you guys is how to capture your gameplay using OBS. Now, this is how I do all my gameplay, whether it was the recent FIFA videos that I did, whether it's all my Simpsons Hit and Run videos, any games that I do on PC, this is how I capture it. And I'm here to show you guys how I do that today. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. OBS is free software, so if you want to go ahead and download it, it's available for you to go ahead and download and for you to use immediately. So go ahead, hop over to look on Google, find wherever you can. It should be available for you to download. Second thing to keep in mind, always keep in mind about how PCs work. You know, the more better your PC is, the better that this is going to work for you. So if you have a lower end PC, just try to keep that in mind and see how you can work around it, because every case is going to be different when it comes to using recording software. So with that in mind, let's get right into the tutorial. So how do I record my gameplay? Well, first you open up OBS. Once you install OBS, have it opened up, and now we're going to hop over into our scene section. Now what our scene section does is it lets you capture it lets you do all your capturing in basically sections. So if, for example, if I have this scene that I have right here is how I do all my live streams, how I do my basic gameplays for Simpsons in a Run, and I have all this stuff open. I have video capture device. I'm gonna explain what some of that stuff is while I'm doing this. So this is basically how I record my Simpsons videos. And as you guys have seen recently, I've been capturing FIFA, and this is how I did FIFA. So there we go. We have our FIFA capture, and we have I just called it scene because it was when I first started using it. But alright, let's hop into it. Let's make a new scene over here, and we're gonna call it Simpsons. Alright, so for today I'm gonna be showing you guys Simpsons in a Run. Yeah, that's a treat for you guys. Alright. So now that we have our Simpsons open, now we're gonna need a source. Well, first of all, before you do that, you probably want to open up your game. So in this case, I'm gonna open up the Simpsons Hit and Run. And so now I'm going to have Simpsons Hit and Run open. We're going to launch it. I'm going to be using the Lucas Mod Launcher because it's so much easier for me. So I'm going to be using that. And I'm going to have it in windowed mode. That way I have more accessibility to this aerial over here. So yeah, I'm just going to play it in windowed mode. So let's go ahead and launch the game. And there we have it. And the reason why you're not hearing any audio right now is because I killed it for the purpose of this video. I killed all the audio, so it's not going to be in the way or anything. So don't worry about that. It's just my computer. It's just my settings, so I have it like that. So while that game is running in the background, the next step you want to do is you want to hop over into your sources. Of course, you need a source of video capture. So let's go ahead and hit that add button. And we have a list of options that we were able to use. For this purpose, we're going to be going into game capture. Yes, they make it very easy for you guys. So we're going to hit into game capture. And we're going to go ahead and name it. Of course, you guys can name it what you want. But in this case, we're going to be naming it Simpsons Capture. And of course, we're going to get these settings right here. We're going to get this new window where it gives you all these options. Most of these don't really matter. But of course, we're just going to want to go ahead and look for our game. So right here, we're going to hop over into mode. It's going to say capture any full screen application. And what I've seen in most cases, this doesn't really do anything. So we're going to go ahead and hop over to capture specific window. This is the way I've always done it. And of course, now it's going to give you a brand new option. It's going to say window. It's going to give you the option to choose your new window. And in this case, we are looking at the Simpsons Hit and Run right there. It's going to take a second, and there you go. Now you have the Simpsons Hit and Run. Now, there's a reason why I decided to open it in 1280 by 720, because I want to show you guys what this does. Something that a lot of people do not really pay attention, or from what I've seen, they don't really tell you about, is the resolution of your game. So when you open up your game, it's going to give you all kinds of options on how you want your resolution to look. You always want to pay attention to that before you start recording, because this is exactly how your game is going to look. Of course, if you don't want your game to come out looking, if you don't want your recording to look like this, of course, you want to make sure you fix that. And you might want to go ahead and set it to 1080, set it to full screen, whatever can get you to full screen, and it should be fine. Now, if you can't really get it to 1080 by 720, 1920 by 1080 is what I meant to say, but basically full screen resolution, then you just want to go ahead, go to right click, head over to transform, and you want to head over to stretch to screen. And of course, what you guys can see there is it's now stretched it to the entire screen, and it fills it up, and there you go. Your video looks more complete. But do keep in mind that having a lower resolution is going to have lower quality of your game, so always do keep that in mind, although it should not really be that much of an issue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you guys what's going to happen once I set it to 1080. And okay, let's cancel out of that. Now I want to hit launch again. There you go. As you guys can see, it's filling up my entire screen. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now we're going to head over back into OBS so I can show you guys. So no matter what, if you set it to stretch the screen, it's going to stretch the screen every single time, which is perfect. But in this case, the difference is it is now in 1920 by 1080, which is full HD. So of course, always pay attention to your resolutions. That is actually a very important part of capturing your gameplay. Next part that you need to pay attention to is your audio. So as you guys can see right now, my audio is not playing right now. The desktop audio levels are not moving at all. Of course, I already explained that I don't have it on, so that's why it's not playing anything right now. But you do always need to check your audio levels, and the way I'm going to do it right now is by heading over into this little part. What happens whenever I move the volume is going to play a little chime sound. There you go. As you guys can see, my desktop audio is running just fine. Therefore, it should be just fine. All right, so, and if you're not too completely sure about that, then as you guys can see, I completely lowered the Simpson run. There you go. So always check your audio levels to make sure that it's running up and running. Otherwise, it's not going to capture it, and your gameplay is going to come out without audio. We don't want that because I've had many cases like that, and trust me, it freaking sucks. And just to double check all that, if for some reason it's still not playing, you want to come into your properties. Let me do that again. You go into this little tool button right here. Hit properties. And now you just want to look around, and now you can see all these options that you have. Just choose the one that actually makes your speakers more off. In this case, it's my speakers here, and that's where the audio is going to come from. If you have a headset on, you might want to double check and make sure that it's up and running correctly. And of course, for any mic and auxiliary, you might want to go up. Same thing, properties. If you have a mic playing, like for example, I have my Blue Yeti plugged in right now, which I'm using to record this video, but for some reason I'm afraid that it's going to mess with my recording, so I don't want to do that. But as you guys can see right here, it's kind of it gives you a little preview of your microphones that you have plugged in. And here you go. As you guys can see, the levels are up and running. As soon as I cancel it, they're dead. So there you go. And of course, if for any point you want to mute your audio, it's always going to be here for you to, you could just toggle these buttons right here, the little audio buttons. And that should do it for your basic setup. There you go. You have your game set up, you have everything set up, and that should be cool. And that should be nice. That should be up and running, and it should all be cool. Now, next thing I want to explain to you guys is your settings. Yeah, this is the scary stuff. That's the basic setup. Sorry if I'm terrible at this. This is my first ever tutorial on this kind of thing. So if I'm terrible at this, let me know in the comments below. So hopping over into our settings, we're going to be looking into general. We don't really need to look into that. This is basically like how you want everything to look, and that doesn't really matter. Stream, we're not really streaming right now, so let's ignore that for now. Output, that does matter. So output, we're going to be looking at two different tabs. We're not doing streaming, so we're not going to be doing that. Now we're going to be looking at recording. This is how your videos are going to record. I always keep it at standard because you know, we all like standard. Standard is basically that's kind of the go-to thing. Now we're going to look into recording format. Now there's 4 of them that I actually know: FLV, MP4, MOV, MKV. These other 2 I'm not really completely sure about, so I'm going to completely ignore those. But in every case that I've seen, I've always used MP4. MP4 is just always like it's another one of the go-to file types, so just leave it at MP4 and you should be fine. Now let's look at audio track. In this case, we really don't need any of these other ones. I don't think they really do anything. So for now, we're just going to leave this at its defaults. Encoder, X264. We have all these 2 other options right here. This is for if you have a GPU that you're using or something like that. If you have a GPU that you're using, you could always choose these other options. Always pay attention to what they are though before you actually select them. But in my case, I haven't really needed those, so I just keep it at X264. Now rate control. Ugh. This is a lot of breath that I'm using up right now. All right, so CBR, ABR, VBR, CRF. I only know 2 of these. ABR, which is average bit rate. CBR, constant bitrate. I always keep it at constant bitrate just because I'm a little more familiar with it. This is basically going to control like this is part of how your video is going to come out. So of course you want to pay attention to that. The higher your constant bitrate, the better your video is going to look. But in my case, I haven't really needed to use so much, so I always keep it at 8,000. I've seen other cases where people with higher end PCs will use stuff like 16,000, maybe 30,000. So if you are able to do that, you can always go a little bit higher. If you have a bit of a lower end PC, then you might want to lower it a little bit. Or if not, you could always try 8,000, see how that works for you. But of course, every computer varies, so do keep that in mind. Now for the audio tab, we're going to hop over into audio. This stuff doesn't really affect your video as much. Of course, at least the default doesn't really affect your video. But if you do want to insist on going a little bit higher, I wouldn't go any higher than 192. But I've always kept it at 160. It hasn't really been an issue for me. And I probably wouldn't go lower than that either. Just keep it where it is for now, just to be safe. Audio. Okay, so this is basically how your audio is going to be controlled. I kind of went over this a little bit already. Desktop audio device. You just want to make sure that you have your proper audio playing, because if you don't, it's not going to be playing correctly, and it's not going to play any of your audio. So for example, if I were to set it to my monitor, which definitely doesn't even have any audio, I don't even know why it's even an option. So let's go over, hit apply. And if I hit OK, and if I raise my Simpsons volume back up, you guys are going to see that it's not going to... Alright. So if I raise my Simpsons volume up, you guys are going to see that it's not going to do anything at all. As you can see, the audio levels are not moving at all. They're still in its place, and that means that your audio is not up and running, so you might want to go ahead and check it and make sure that it is properly in its place. So you, like I said, hop over to audio. We hop over back to my gaming speakers. That's where all the audio is coming out from, and it should be better. It should be back up and running again. Now, if you have a mic device, auxiliary audio device, of course you want to check that. I have my Blue Yeti, but I'm not going to use it for the purpose of this video. But if you do have one, you should go ahead and select it if you need to use it as well. And now we're going to go down to video. So for video, now we have base canvas solution, output scaled resolution, downscale filter, common FPS. Base canvas resolution is basically the resolution that you want to see in your canvas right here, just this area right here. It's not going to be the final output of your video, so you just want to keep that in mind. Now we're going to be looking at output scaled resolution. So for output scaled resolution is what your actual resolution is going to be of your final video. So of course you want to look at that and make sure you pay attention to it. I have it in 1920 by 1080 for both in most cases, that way I can preview it correctly. And of course, we always try to have the best possible quality ever. Downscale filter, I've always left it at bilinear. I'm not 100% sure what this does, but I always left it at bilinear, and it's kept my videos pretty solid, so I always kept it at that. If for some reason like your computer doesn't really react well to it, I would try to play with the settings a little bit and see what works best for you. So just keep it at that. Common FPS, we all know what FPS is. Everybody wants good FPS, good frame rate per second. I would never choose anything other than 30 or 60. If you want to go for 60, make sure that it actually runs on your computer pretty well. I'm not sure if it really affects it based on what your computer runs. But if it doesn't run it well, then of course you want to go to 30. Once again, just play with the settings and see what works best for you. In my case, it's always 60 FPS. And that should pretty much do it. There we go, you guys. Hopefully that tutorial was very helpful. I'm not sure if I forgot to mention anything. If you guys do want to add a webcam, you can always go to video capture device. Right here back in your sources, you could always choose another video capture device, and of course you want to name it. If you want to name it webcam, hit enter, and of course it opens up the new window, and of course you choose the webcam that you have. For right now I don't have one available, so of course it's not showing anything. So of course we're going to cancel that, and I'm going to delete it. Alright, there is another thing I wanted to mention. So I'm here to tell you right now, something that a lot of people do not tell you is that game capture is not always guaranteed to work. And sometimes it's actually gonna like mess up your recordings, because it's not always gonna work, and then people are asking questions constantly, and those guys never get back to you, and I hate that kind of stuff. So I'm here to tell you what you guys can do immediately if you come across that. So if your game capture doesn't work, and if for some reason your game does not appear on one of these options, if they do not appear, you can always hit cancel. And of course I'm just gonna remove that just for the sake of the example. We're going to go over to add, and we're going to go to window capture. Window capture is basically how it's going to select a specific window, and as you guys can see right now, it's highlighting my my video settings. And in this case, look, here as well, it would also capture The Simpsons in a run. So if game capture doesn't work, always check window capture. That could work as well. And of course, you want to go to transform, stretch the screen. There we go. Everything looks beautiful again. Same thing. Window capture is also another option. And if for some reason that doesn't work either, if your game doesn't appear in those options either, then the final resort that I can ever come up with is going to be display capture. So head over to display capture. I'm going to just leave it at that. Now what that's going to do is it's going to capture your entire desktop. That's the only downside. You know, if you're one of those people that doesn't like to show your desktop too much because you have files that you don't want other people seeing, you sick bastards. But if you guys just don't like showing off your desktop, this is kind of the last resort. This pretty much shows everything. So in cases that I've had this usually happens with like older games that are not really compatible with OBS for some reason. One perfect example is GTA San Andreas. When I was doing the gameplays for that, I was not able to do it with game capture or window capture. I had to use display capture. And as you guys can see right now, well, you can't see it right now, but as soon as I drag it down, you guys can see right here that the game is up and running as well on that as well. That is kind of the last resort thing that you want to do when it comes to recording gameplay. But always do keep that in mind that game capture is not always guaranteed to work. But those other two options are kind of your last resort. And if in your case it does work, then more power to you. It should be just fine. You should be good in that case. Yep, up and running here perfectly. Of course, stretch the screen, and it should be all good from there. If you guys do want to customize it to some other like position for some reason, to other scale, you could always grab these corners. But do keep in mind it does do it freely. So if you want to like lock it in, you want to hold shift. I think it's shift. Yeah, it's shift. Hold shift and it should hold its shape pretty well, and you could scale it down to whatever size you want, and it should be all good from there. So there you go, guys. That was my tutorial. Hopefully that made it a little bit easier to understand OBS a little bit. And if not, if you guys do have any questions, you could always let me know down in the comments below. If you did find this video helpful, leave a like, drop a comment as I already said, and subscribe if you would like for future content. If you want to see any other future tutorials that you would like me to do on this channel, then go ahead and let me know what you would like that to be. But I hope you guys are ready to do some gameplay. Start uploading that. Start going with your channels now. And it should all be good from there. Hopefully you guys will have a great day. And I will be seeing you guys in the next one. Thank you.